Whew, looks like Chilli just stepped into the Diddy drama and she's not coming empty-handed. Word on the streets is that she's got some serious receipts linking Diddy to the tragic death of her former TLC groupmate Lisa Left Eye Lopes. Now, before you roll your eyes at another wild internet theory, this one's hitting different. It's not just the usual online noise, because it looks like there's some real weight behind it. Ever notice how a handful of high-profile deaths from the early 2000s seem to circle back to Diddy or the people around him? It's eerie. And if there's one thing we've learned about the entertainment industry, it's that coincidence is rarely just that. Rumor has it that anyone who had dirt on those infamous Diddy parties, Left Eye, Aaliyah, and Kim Porter, ended up gone before they could speak out. Now that Diddy's finally behind bars, some folks think the truth is starting to bubble up. So could there be more to Left Eye's passing than we were told? Is there a hidden thread connecting her to Diddy that we all missed? Let's dig in and unpack everything. It's been over 20 years since Lisa Left Eye Lopes passed away, but for a lot of fans and even some folks in the industry, her death still doesn't sit right. There are just too many strange details that never quite made sense. One thing that has raised eyebrows is the tension she reportedly had with some big name execs at the time, especially. One thing about Clive, his name always seems to pop up when there's some mess behind the scenes. And let's be real, if Clive's involved, it's only a matter of time before Diddy's name gets tossed into the mix too. Some of the internet's deep dive detectives believe it wasn't Clive who had the real issue with Lisa, it was Diddy. The theory is that he may have used his relationship with Clive to handle things quietly and permanently. To put it in context, TLC was signed to LaFace Records back in 1991. That label was a joint effort between Babyface, L.A. Reid, and through Arista Records. So even if wasn't front and center, he still had his hands in the pot when it came to TLC's projects and their overall direction. And if you connect the dots, some folks think this might explain why Lisa's story still feels unfinished.
And we did have a moment, but you got to keep in mind, it's hard to tell every little detail, you know. I mean, so much went on within all those years, and we tried to put as much as we could within 2.5 hours.
I mean, they put the Arista part in there, but you know, it needed to stay clean as well. But we didn't pull out on Clive, actually.
Right.
Basically, $75 million was generated on that album. We didn't really get any, so we wanted to know where the money was at, rather. And LA said it was at Arista, so that's where we went. TLC and Company, yeah.
So how was the gun involved in this story?
Somebody may have had one outside somewhere, you know, but nobody pulled it out on nobody. They just was ordered to take down everything that said TLC.
And what was Clive's reaction to all this?
Actually, it was squashed. Nobody got in trouble. We actually got some money after that.
The problem with the whole setup was that it worked out great for the label and the execs, but not for the girls of TLC. At the height of their fame, they were one of the biggest girl groups in the world. Hit after hit, everything they dropped was a success. But behind the scenes, things weren't nearly as glamorous. They had signed their deal when they were still really young and didn't fully understand how the industry works. And that lack of experience cost them big time. While everyone else was cashing in on their success, the group was barely seeing a dime. It got so bad that they eventually had to file for bankruptcy, even while topping the charts. That's how deep the Exploitation ran. After dropping their first 2 albums, TLC should have been rolling in money. Both records were massive hits, both critically and commercially. Their debut, Oh, on the TLC tip, sold over 4 million copies in the US and gave them 3 top 10 singles right out the gate. Then came Crazy Sexy Cool, and that album took things to a whole new level. It wasn't just a fan favorite. Rolling Stone even listed it among the 500 greatest albums of all time. It sold 7.7 million copies in the US alone and racked up over 14 million globally. By 1996, they were Grammy winners too. They took home 2 awards for Best R&B Album and Best R&B Performance by a duo or group for Creep. On paper, they were at the top of their game, right there with the industry's elite. But despite all that success, when they sat down for a press conference later on, they shocked everyone by revealing that they were flat out broke. All the fame, all the accolades, yet their bank accounts didn't reflect any of it.
Trust me, you can sell 10 million albums and be broke if you have greedy people behind you. All right. This is how a group can sell 10 million records and be broke. And everyone, get ready to do your math. When we first started out, we were kind of cocky. Okay, there are 100 points on the album. TLC had 7. Every point is equal to 8 cents. All right? 7 times 8, 56 cents. But as time went on, we learned a lot. That means every time an album gets sold, TLC gets 56 cents. So 10 million records. $5.6 million. Seems like a lot of money. Well, it's not a lot of money when the record company has spent $3 million to record your album. And in the record business, We pay all costs back to the record company. We pay recording costs, video costs. So now we have $2.6 million left. Well, guess what? When you have that much money, you're in about the 47, 48, 49% tax bracket. So that immediately gets deducted to $1.3 million. Then you split the rest 3 ways. You got about $300,000 a piece, if that much. Okay? $300,000. I can buy a nice house with that. And what am I gonna pay my bills with?
What made the situation even more frustrating was that the girls had actually hoped things would improve once they moved to LaFace. Their last label had already been taking advantage of them, so they were expecting a fresh start. But somehow things ended up feeling even worse. When it became clear that the higher-ups had no intention of stepping in or fixing the problem, the group decided that enough was enough. They took matters into their own hands and showed up at his office unannounced, ready to confront him directly.
This is what we talked about before. Why did TLC hold Arista hostage? The record company, we held them hostage like the whole shebang. Yeah, it was like that.
Chilli later revealed that Clive wasn't exactly thrilled when they popped up uninvited to question him about their money. Allegedly, Diddy ended up snitching on them, and once Clive told him how annoyed he was by the whole thing, Diddy took it personally. Some folks believe he made it his mission to punish them for ruffling feathers with the man who basically kept him in power.
TLC had generated on Crazy Sexy Cool $75 million, and they gave us $50,000 a piece. So I was like, what the hell? So, of course, Lisa was the ringleader.
Like, we need to go get our money. I need to know where my MF and money's at.
So, you know, she was locked up in the diversion center for burning down the house. And she was just like,
Okay, we gonna get LaFace and them girls I was locked up with. We gonna drive up there. We gonna take the guns.
and then we had this limo driver.
Wait, she just got out of jail?
Yes.
Okay, okay, okay.
And we had the limo driver, and he was the getaway car. So we went up there and held everybody hostage, and Puffy was the one that snitched us out. Yo, B, yo, your girl's up here mad bugging, yo. And I was like, oh, Puff, why you gonna snitch us out, dog? But he called it, yeah, because we kicked him out of the meeting.
Well, wait a minute. Puffy.
Since Lisa was seen as the one leading the charge, Diddy allegedly focused all his anger on her. That's likely what sparked the rumors that he had something to do with the tragic accident that took her life.
It was rude. We interrupted Puffy's meeting, you know, and he was having a meeting, and Puff was like, I'm sorry, but we really got to handle this, dog. We need to know where this money at. You know, because we were getting sick and sweating, and, you know, we was like really working hard for this money, and we wanted to know who the hell had our check.
Who had it?
LA said Clive did, so that's where we went.
Well, do he still have it?
All of them got it. You know, nah.
Give me the names, because I'm going to talk to him right now.
What makes things even more suspicious is how unusual the circumstances were leading up to Left Eye's death. She was in Honduras at the time, staying at a retreat run by the well-known and controversial Dr. Sebi.
I watched him, and he was chilling. I like them things.
Now, y'all understand that animals and stuff, they react off of instinct. That means if you get nervous, they get nervous. If you start doing all of this, then all of a sudden they start getting defensive, and then that's when they want to sting you. So if you leave your door open by accident and a mosquito gets in your room, your whole night, 9 times out of 10, is going to be ruined unless you hunt that mosquito down and kill him.
I killed one yesterday. We can kill him.
Okay?
There have been whispers that Dr. Sebi was a target of Big Pharma because of his bold claims, like being able to cure any illness with natural herbs and insisting that HIV wasn't the cause of AIDS. Some say there was actually truth to his treatments, which made him a threat to major pharmaceutical companies that rely on selling expensive medication. Left Eye fully believed in his approach. While she was in Honduras, she followed one of his herbal regimens and seemed to be deeply invested in his healing method. Because of all this, some people believe Left Eye's death might have been connected to her support of Dr. Sebi and his controversial method. But honestly, that's not even the most unsettling part of her time in Honduras. Right before the trip, she was going through serious issues with her label. The tension had gotten so bad that she ended up stepping away from TLC to focus on her solo career. Then in 2002, she made a bold move and cut ties with Arista Records completely, signing with Suge Knight's Death Row Records instead.
Left Eye joined Death Row. Do you guys know the story behind that?
No, I really don't. I just know she wanted to do a different type of rap music, and then that's the place that she ended up going. I didn't really question it.
Were you guys still working together at the time?
Always.
Yeah, always. We never broke up, and you know, all of us have done individual projects on our time off.
And of course, we all know about that long-standing feud between Diddy and Suge Knight. You know, the same beef that played a major role in the deaths of both Tupac and Biggie. So when Left Eye decided to sign with Death Row, it probably only added fuel to the fire and gave Diddy yet another reason to see her as a threat. On April 25th, 2002, Lisa was driving a rented SUV with her crew in the car when tragedy struck. She reportedly lost control of the vehicle while trying to avoid a truck that suddenly stopped in front of her, while another car was coming toward her from the opposite direction. But here's what always seemed off. The road was basically empty. So why would a truck just stop out of nowhere like that? And why was another car heading straight for her at the same time? Some believe it wasn't a coincidence at all. There are theories that the truck and the car were intentionally placed there to force her off the road. And that's not the only strange part. The crash footage shows that Lisa wasn't wearing a seatbelt, which caused her to be thrown from the car during the accident. That's ultimately what led to her death. The autopsy also revealed that Left Eye was not under the influence. There were no in her system or anything else that could have caused her to act irrationally. Obviously, in the heat of the moment, she could have made a mistake or miscalculated, but it didn't explain why the accident was so tragic and why she was the only one who passed away. There have been plenty of rumors floating around that Diddy might have played a role in Left Eye's death, mainly because she allegedly knew way too much about his FO parties and was threatening to expose everything. But that's not all, because there's also the Tupac connection. Left Eye was really close to Tupac, so close in fact that people constantly assumed that they were more than just friends. Their bond even caused tension in her relationship with Andre Rison, since he didn't like how tight she and Tupac were. All of this has led to another theory that Left Eye knew way too much about Diddy and all the shady stuff he was involved in back then. Don't forget, Diddy's name has come up more than once in connection with Tupac's death too. This is a mess, but it's about to get even messier, because the streets are saying that Usher was allegedly in on a plot as well. Now, we don't know how deep Usher was in on the Left Eye issue, but fans have connected Usher to some creepy Diddy situation. We're not even going to get into the mess that was Puffy flavored camp. Instead, we're going to talk about the claims from some of Diddy's alleged victims about how Usher watched Diddy hurt them but never did or said anything. For example, Dawn Richards' court documents said Combs hosted a dinner at a West Hollywood, California restaurant, which Miss Richard and Miss Harper were required to attend. Among the guests at the dinner were celebrities like Neo and Usher, as well as Mr. Levine. At the dinner, Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura had an argument. In front of the other guests, Mr. Combs hissed at Miss Ventura in a screaming whisper and forcefully punched her in the stomach, causing her to double over in visible pain, crying. Miss Clark escorted Miss Ventura out of the restaurant, and Mr. Combs remained and continued socializing with the dinner guests. And given how closely Diddy and Usher have been since the 90s, fans are wondering if Usher knows more about Diddy than he's telling. Fans are convinced that Usher could be the key to taking Diddy down, and if the feds get Usher to turn on Diddy and snitch, we're going to find out everything, including allegedly what really happened between Diddy and Left Eye. This is very disturbing, but y'all let me know what you think in the comments, and then check out this next video.